Welcome back, everyone. I'm filming outdoors today, so hopefully the sound quality won't suffer too much. But I wanted to take a look at two firearms. They're going to be split up individually into two videos. First, by the title, you know they're the Egyptian rifles. The first one being the Hakim, of course based on the Swedish Ljungman AG-42. And they sold the tooling to Egypt, who was looking for a new semi-auto rifle. Quite a job of salesmanship, because they were moving on to a new gun and a new battle rifle. And so Egypt benefited from this by getting the tooling and being able to produce these rifles. And this particular one is dated 1960. I'll zoom in a little bit here and pan up and down it. You can see we have the bayonet attached. The bayonets are somewhat difficult to come by and rather expensive to find too. The rifles themselves are fairly common, and we'll just take a closer look at it. The history of them is well documented here and other places. So let me grab the bayonet off of it and we'll take a closer look at the bayonet first of all. So the bayonet, as we can see here, is a very familiar design with this locking lug. This particular one is unmarked serial number wise, but it does have, we'll show you a better picture of the Egyptian roll mark, which is the Triple Crown of Egypt. Quite a bit of history there ingrained right into that little roll mark. Here's the scabbard for it. We'll get back a little bit and let's take a look at that. Get it fitted in the right orientation so that the frog can hold both the holds both the bayonet and the scabbard in place. So let me grab the rifle now. We'll get to looking at a few things. Now this, of course, in my mystery rifle, this was that rifle. Very heavy rifle, by the way. But there's that flash hider and recoil compensator we were talking about in the previous video. We'll do a slow walk up and down of this video, or this rifle. See, it's in extremely good condition, been refinished, I am pretty certain. At some point in its life. As I said, this one is dated 1960, and I'll bring it in so you can see right where that date is. It's the top letter right underneath the top numbers, right underneath the roll mark, the Egyptian roll mark again I was talking about. And if you want to decipher those, of course they're in Arabic, you have an excellent decipher tool built right into the gun, right on the sight. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10 at the very top. So you can use that to decipher the date, and this one comes out to be 1960. The electro-penciled mark is standard on these. They came that way. You can see the other Arabic numbers. Now, the problem I was having when I bought this rifle, and part of the reason I got it at a good price, I found out later, thought I was getting a good deal, but this, you can see there's 3 action screws, and this rear one was snapped off into the action. And the reason that happened was they are often missing those locks that hold them into place, and when they do that, the action screws will loosen up very quickly during firing. And to compensate for that, people have a tendency to over tighten them, and to the point where this one actually broke off. I was able to extract it and find new screws which are properly fitted to the gun, so that when they tighten down, they are just snug when they hit the point where the lock can fold over and lock into place. Now, you will destroy the lock if you disassemble the firearm, and you can see how these locks are supposed to look when they're installed. That's simply a groove in the screw, and the lock is shaped kind of like a lollipop. It's just a piece of wire. It's put around that groove, and as you screw it down in, it falls into the corresponding notch on the receiver, or the regular, that's actually the trigger guard, the lower metal. And I use a small punch to hold it into position, fold it up, screw the rest of the way down, and then fold it over into one of the corresponding notches. And I fit them, it's a fine thread screw, so just put it in a piece of sandpaper with a hole cut into it, and run it with a drill to slowly fit it into place until it just snugs down right when that notch is lined up with the notch into the lower metal. Okay. Now, these are a very quirky rifle, as you've seen many times how they operate probably in other videos. With the safety on, that's the only time you should ever have your hands inside this action. Otherwise, this thing will bite you, and bite you hard. Make certain the safety is on. Anytime you're loading it with stripper clips, that's the way they are designed to be loaded, even though it is magazine fed. The magazine is locked into place with this little lock, and it's rather difficult to remove because this lock just wants to lock it up. They were never designed to be fired from or reloaded from a new magazine. They were designed to be loaded via a stripper clip through this stripper clip guide, which you lay in flat, fold up, and then feed them in with your thumb with the safety on. So if we remove the magazine, I have to kind of hold it into place, unlock. This is the lock position. We unlock it, move it forwards, and then the magazine can be extracted. I'm going to drop that in my pocket real quick here, and we'll show the action in motion. Now, with the magazine being empty, it would normally lock the bolt back, but the way we operate the action is bring the dust cover forwards. It'll pick up the bolt. It'll stay forwards because it's locked into the bolt. Now we can bring it back, and it brings the bolt with it. With the safety on, when I lock it to the rear, now our bolt will stay back. If I tried loading this in this, and we can see, I don't know if we can get into the internals of it or not. I'm reaching up from the bottom, but there's a small, when the magazine is empty, I'm pushing up on it there. You can see that little button that pops up, and that interferes with the bolt. And if that is not present, the only thing holding it, if your magazine had some rounds in it, you were reloading it, with the safety on, you can see the bolt is locked back. I'm just sliding the dust cover forward and back. And you can see now the back of the action. There's our hammer in there and the whole operating apparatus. If I take the safety off, you can see what happens. that makes grand thumb look pretty mild. This will chop your thumb off, but you can see that's why you want to have this safety on and engaged. So see kind of a quick, if I can get things lined up here, quick view down the sight picture of it. If we can line it up a little bit, you can kind of see we have decent iron sights on the gun. The butt plate, of course, this is a numbers matching gun, and this is one of my favorites. They're not, the entry fee on these is not what I'd call exactly a budget gun right now. They're unique enough that they are being sought after somewhat, and has driven the price up somewhat. I can get this inserted, locked back up. Now that that button will be pushed up due to the fact that we are on an empty magazine, and we could reload it, but the minute you stick your thumb in there and load it, it drops that pin and the bolt wants to slam home without the safety on. With the safety on, you're okay. So do another quick flyby on this really unique version of an early semi-automatic fire gun that was built late, and the ingenuity of the Egyptians to add the recoil compensator flash hider, which is very effective. This is a very mild shooter actually with that full power battle cartridge, because of its weight and because of that very effective muzzle brake. So there we have it, the first of the interesting Egyptian firearms. Even though it's a World War II design used into the 1960s. This one was made in abundant numbers, so it's readily available. But don't be afraid to buy one because of its quirkiness. They're just very enjoyable to shoot in that respect. And very interesting history being related to, and the interaction of countries trading firearm information and knowledge around. So thanks for watching. Next up we'll take another look at another Egyptian firearm, and you probably know what that is, and we'll see you then.